Welcome everyone, and we're back with another Herding Cats, and waiting for my co-host to arrive. Turn on the TV. There he is, Robert.
Hey, what's happening, everybody?
Welcome back, Robert.
Thank you. Love being here.
Okay, how's your eyes?
Terrible. So
I,
I got to give a shout out to my baby girl.
you
Baby
have
girl, I
to.
can't thank you enough for that. So about an hour ago, my Twitter daughter, she made a clip, and she was removing her makeup while reading my tweets, and that just kicked me in my chest. I was so moved and I was so touched that someone would take the time to do that I have cried nonstop for about the last 30 minutes. So if I look like I've been in a prize fight with Mr. T, that's the reason why. But since I'm on air, baby girl, thank you so much. That was moving.
That was a really nice video.
That was a great
I
video.
watched it. That was a really nice video. Okay.
She's a good kid.
For the first time, we have a guest who was on our show on the Theist show and is now back on the Atheist show. So we need to say welcome to Erica. Erica, how you doing?
Hey!
She's one of us now. Who gets the steak knives? We got a conversion.
Yeah, yeah. And so let's put the rest behind us as well, because I already tweeted it that we were going to have a message, and the message literally is that she's one of us now. Erica is joining the team as a host on Gonna Go For It, and I can talk for everyone that was on the team, that we're all delighted to have you on board, Erica.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah. So
And I'm glad to be on a team, as well as an atheist. Hey!
great. So
We got one.
yeah,
What for the
Hey,
win,
we got-
baby?
Was it the Book of Bubba? Is that
Oh,
what
that
that
was it. That was the conversion, the
I'm
point
done.
of conversion.
Ma-
Never
uh,
going back.
Yeah. So that's who you pay your tithes to.
Yeah.
Uh,
Pam and Bum.
Bubba accepts money orders. He Venmos just 10% of your income and your eternal soul.
There
So
you
yeah, the Book of Bubba converts all.
well, and I have to say, for the last show, I sent that out to a couple of people. One of the people I sent it to was Erica Hernandez, and he thought it was a really impressive show, and he really liked you, Erica, as a lot of people said you got fire. You're really sparkly. You're full of energy. So a lot of people thought that was really cool to see. So maybe, who knows, when Eric comes back on the channel, maybe you can co-host, because it would be cool to have a show with Erica Hernandez and Eric Hernandez, who
Wouldn't it?
yeah, that would be really nice. So, and Eric has said that he would be looking forward to talking to you. So, but Erica, don't keep us in suspense any longer. What's the topic that you chose for the show?
All right. So I would actually, who had inspired this was my son, because I was talking to my son one day about spirituality. I went from the religious path to the spiritual path, and now I'm on this path of the self. But when I got here, I was talking to my son about how some of these rituals and stuff are just pure bullshit and a waste of time. And I could be using that time to be more progressive and finding other ways to make actual changes in my life and in the world. And I was talking to my son about why do people, the rituals and all that stuff that people cling to, they seem to be effective for some people in terms of how they go on with their day. And he was like, yeah, because people need something to have faith and to believe in. And then I was thinking, but why do people always turn to religion or spirit? And why hasn't it been much longer advocated that we should believe in ourselves? like in who we are, in our brain and personal development? And does spirituality and religion just get in the way of us becoming better people because we evade or we dismiss the self as the most important element to our experience on earth, a real earth with real issues and real people, where we just focus all our attention on being the best we can be here, disregarding a soul. And if we were to do that, we would probably truly evolve, because we wouldn't be dismissing experiences or seeking for a soul that is never going to be found here on this earth in this body. So it's kind of like a trap. There's a bunch of spiritual traps and religious traps that you fall into on those paths. Anyways, I hope that summed up what we were talking about. Basically,
Perfect.
religion and spirituality, and whether the soul is actually counterproductive in truly evolving as people, and how we should just believe in ourselves.
God damn. That was some good stuff.
That-
Let me ask you a question, because one thing that I've noticed in my journey since I've been an atheist for almost the last 9-10 years, I hear the word spiritual a lot.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And when you talk to people who are very religious, there's been an evolution. Like when I was a kid, it wasn't religion, it was religion. That's old Southern black, get that old time religion in you and all that stuff. Now it's spirituality.
Right.
I've never gotten kind of a clear definition of spirituality.
Yes, that's true.
What is spirituality to you?
Okay. So to me, what it was, I was actually going to do a video talking about what I thought the soul was, and I couldn't figure it out my damn self. So what spirituality is a way to be condescending and judgmental and feel like you're better than other people without calling yourself religious.
I love that definition. So far, that's the best one I've ever had. Keep going.
No, I think that people who are on a spiritual path are people who just are trying to find the good in themselves and other people, but it's the same thing packaged up differently, if you ask me. I can't find a clear definition on what spirituality is either. If you read different books or if you follow different spiritual gurus, at the end of the day, it's all money traps. So spirituality is a business, I guess, just like religion.
And so, like,
pretty much like religion is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So being, almost a 30, not almost, being a 39-year hardcore fundamentalist Christian, religion has been tagged on to a lot of fucked up shit.
Oh,
like, protesting outside of a church when two gay people are getting married. We all know the laundry list of fucked up shit that you can hang your hat on the religious hook. And so it's the same belief packaged in another box. And so instead of people are trying to separate themselves from religion, and from what I've been able to tell, it's now spirituality. Or my least favorite thing is, because then people say, and they look at you like you're fucking stupid, like you didn't know it. It's like, it's not a religion, Robert. It's a relationship. I'm like, wait, okay, hold on. Do you still believe in God? Yes. Do you still believe that Jesus rose from the dead? Yes. Okay, then fuck you.
Yeah.
It's religion. You just don't want, it's their way, from my view, it's their way to separate themselves from the fucked up connotation that comes with saying the word religion.
Exactly.
But it's the same, to me, it's the exact same shit.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And the problem that I had with religion whenever I was in it was the blind faith aspect, that you have to believe, you can't question, you're not allowed to look too much behind the screen, like the whole Wizard of Oz bullshit. Yep. And then my problem with spirituality is actually the toxic positivity. It's like the dismissiveness of the human experience. Like, oh, you're not allowed to get angry. You're not allowed to think that people are assholes. You shouldn't lose your temper. You shouldn't experience any kind of emotion other than positivity. That sets people up who are particularly codependent or who have different mental issues, as we all have mental issues, let's be honest. But that sets people up to become abused by narcissists and people who exploit that toxic positivity, and it's reinforced by a whole community of people who are too ignorant or who I shouldn't talk about people like that, I guess. But it's
No, yeah, you should. Yes, you should.
it sets people up to be abused by an entire community that doesn't want to deal with the emotional aspect of real life shit. Like, people go through things. If your friends are only positive vibes and good vibes only, then those people are garbage. Like, those people are trash, because they only want to be around when you're at your very highest. But whenever you become a real human and you have real life experiences, those people don't want to deal with it. They don't want to hear your human part of who you are. So it's two different types of toxicity: religion and spirituality. But go ahead.
No, I said I couldn't agree more, because with what you just said, you kicked me back to one of my students. Jesus, that was, I can't even remember how long ago. But this lady was married to an A-list celebrity. And I've been through a divorce. Divorce sucks, but divorce sucks even more when you've got paparazzi going through your trash.
Right.
You know, people waiting for you outside your son's school to take pictures. You know, your legs are open. She's not wearing panties. And she's also a hardcore Christian. And I remember there was this one session where I can understand to the press that you would not bash this person. But even to me, with no press around, no cameras, she was still basically spiritually jerking him off. And I remember stopping. It's like, stop. Just stop. You're mad. You're angry. Stop fucking around. We're not learning any self-defense today. You're going to hit that fucking bag until you cry. And then when you cry, I'm going to pick you back up and I'm going to make you hit that shit some more. And I remember the last thing I told her was, embrace your humanity.
Right.
This person just treated you like shit. This person humiliated you, not in front of his family, not in front of your family, but the entire United States and the world knows what this person did. And she was holding it all in. And it kind of, what you were talking about, that kind of that toxic positive vibe where everything is sunshine, everything is smiles, everything is a bouquet of flowers. It's like bullshit. Sometimes you fart and it makes no smell. Sometimes you fart and you got to close down the fucking house. Some days you're in a good mood. Some days you want to kill your next door neighbor. Embrace your humanity. And so if this toxic spirituality makes you nothing but positive, then you're lying, because that's not what a human is. We are a tornado
of emotions.
Right now, I mean, an hour ago, I was crying my eyes out. At 3:20, I'm having a great conversation. So, you're right. It's that toxic positive bullshit, which basically just makes you a liar, because humans are a tornado of emotions.
No, and that's the devious part. Like, you have people that are like I had to cancel my Instagram because I was getting so irritated with people. All they want to post is like, oh, beautiful this, positive that, manifest this, like attract that. Like, please shut the fuck up. Nobody's that nice. Nobody is that like always good. You know what I mean? Like, you're the type of person that goes and shuts your door and you're probably screaming at everybody in the house and breaking shit, and then as soon as you walk outside you're like, oh, Stepford wife, you know what I mean? Crazy. So there's that part, and then there's also the part of spirituality that I don't love so much is it's the most judgmental position in a lot of situations. Like, you fall into a lot of traps, spiritual traps, but you can become very judgmental, like, oh, that person is just, vibrating low or whatever. No, we need emotions. Anger has its place. Judgment has its place. You can't just walk around with rose-colored glasses and thinking that you can bring the best out of people. Some people are sociopathic pieces of shit, and that's just what it is. And that's who they were born to be. That's who they will always be. You can't give them enough love to change who they are. And there are people in all different positions of life with that characteristic. So does spirituality actually help us? Does religion actually help us? No, because it puts a Band-Aid in the best case scenario. It puts a Band-Aid over the bullshit, and then it, throws shit underneath the rug, so we avoid real issues and don't take care of real issues, and we become very avoidant about certain types of personalities, and we dismiss our emotions, and then we walk around thinking that we can just create a reality that will never exist, as opposed to dealing with the reality that we actually live in and challenging and tackling real problems within ourselves and recognizing problems within other people. So I don't think it can be that you can evolve and grow and be spiritual or religious.
Can someone write you? You need to write a fucking book. that is the most perfect way. So here's a bit. People like me, Peter, Lilith, Artie, some of the other Twitter atheists, excuse me, you either love us or you hate us, right? Some of us have been doing this atheism thing long enough to where we're just these bitter assholes. What you just said was fucking perfect, and people need to hear that out of your mouth because you're just now coming down this road. And if there's one thing that about religion that you just said, you're right. It kind of puts a Band-Aid over the enormous wound that we call responsibility. Right. And I remember when I was on Mama Atheist show, I said, religion is the worship of your own ego. Because if you notice, you and your God agree on everything, including the stuff that you don't agree upon. So if you want to call that gay person a faggot, no. It's not me. God thinks they're faggots.
All right.
It's your way. Yeah. It's your way of shoveling responsibility onto someone else's shoulders. And so when you sit there and you say things like, no, I don't think fags should, and I'm only using the word fags because that's what I was taught to call them. Right. I can't tell you the number of homosexuals that I called faggot to their face because that is what I was taught to say. Yeah. And when they got mad, I didn't see emotion, or I wasn't taught to see emotion. I was taught to see that's the Holy Spirit convicting them. They're getting mad because they know you're right, Chris. But no one calls me Robert, by the way. The only people who call me Robert are on social media and in Austin. But it was like, okay, Chris, they took a swing at your face because Jesus is right. And so, long story short, you're right. It puts a butterfly Band-Aid on this enormous thing that we call responsibility. And religion is your excuse basically to be an asshole. Unless your religion is the type that only makes you do good things. But also, and I'm just babbling because all the shit's in my head, we can't tell the good from the bad. Because the person, my next door neighbor over here, believes in the exact same God as my next door neighbor over here. This person's God makes them help little old ladies across the street. This person's God, same name, tells them to boycott outside of a church where they know two gay people are getting married. It's just a way to shove responsibility on someone else's shoulders.
I agree. So I also think that a lot of people use religion to just feel better than everybody else.
Right.
And I think Robert and I we met on a Christian who thinks that on her channel. So
yeah.
And they can be as annoying as everyone else. And the problem that I have with all of this is I'm fine with you having a religion. If you want to believe in a God, if sure, that's your thing, you go ahead. But why do you need to press your opinions and your thoughts on everyone else?
Right.
That is the part that I have a big problem with. And so earlier today I had a brief talk with Randolph Richardson of Canadian Atheists, and he was in a Twitter thread where he was talking that he didn't want to eradicate religion, and I told him I do, but not by force, by education. Because you shouldn't force people. I couldn't make the exact same mistake that religious people do by forcing my views onto them.
Exactly.
If you want to eradicate that, then that's what you need to do by education. You need to educate them. You need to make them critical thinkers, and then everything will sort itself out. So And
No, exactly. And then even sorry, what were you weren't done. What were you going to say, Peter?
no. Go ahead.
Well, even okay, so then there's that like spirituality, religion. I obviously get it because I've tried both, but just from a from a purely selfish perspective, what does believing in a soul actually do for us? Like, how does that allow us to evolve or to grow as humans? If anything, for me, it made me feel like I was going crazy sometimes. Like when you talk about the spiritual side, so most of the spiritual community, myself included, believes in the universe, the power, the laws of attraction, the universal laws, a lot of hermetic principles, that type of things are all incorporated, and then Buddhist ideology, whatever Buddhism is. But a lot of those, like who you are, you draw right back. No, because there's a lot of terrible people who get really good shit out of life, and there's a lot of really good people who have really terrible experiences. But even beyond just that, like, what does it do for you to believe less in yourself, in your own ability, in your own capacity to become great than it does for you to believe more in something outside of yourself, a universe you will never meet. You're never going to meet the universe. Come on. You're never going to meet God. You're never going to hear the voices of the things that you believe in. So it doesn't make any sense. I got to the point where sometimes I would be dismissive of reality. I would try to ignore pure economic facts whenever I was talking about the economy, because I didn't want to be a part of manifesting some terrible economic crisis in the United States. Like, it gets that crazy. You get to where you think that you're a part of some collective consciousness that's creating manifestations and the words that you speak and the things that you believe. And when you believe that those types of things too much, it does a disservice to yourself and your capacity to think and be realistic. And like you said, Peter, have critical thinking and be able to judge and analyze reality as it is, and your personal potential to be able to be great, whether that's in work or in relationships or whatever. If we focus more on ourselves and reality, then we would be able to judge our weaknesses and our strengths and be able to work on our weaknesses and understand our strengths. But if we're always having faith in a universe or a God or a spirit or paganism or I'm a witch or whatever, like all this supernatural stuff that does not help us, all it does is make us crazy, I think. Well, for me, it just made me crazy.
My issue with, I hear people use the word universe a lot. Excuse me. So I don't know if this is like a metaphorical universe or the actual universe, but have you seen, there's I don't know what you call it. It's on the internet, and it's this incredible visual, and they show planet Earth. You're like, holy shit, the Earth is big. Then it backs up, and it's our solar system. And you're like, wow, that's big. But all the while, it's going to look bad. They're still pointing at Earth. Then they blow the picture up some more. Now it's the Milky Way. They're still pointing at the Earth, but it's gotten a little bit smaller. And then it goes from the Milky Way, and I can't remember all the terms, to, the cluster, the Virgo super, and they're still pointing at the Earth. Then you get to the observable universe. And they're still pointing at the Earth. The observable universe is so enormous that the Milky Way, you can't see it if you were to stand on the edge of the observable universe, even though they're still pointing at it. And so when people say the universe, like, I don't want to put things into the universe. The universe is going to give me this.
Right.
It's like, do you not understand how minute we are?
Like, how much the universe doesn't give a shit about us.
The universe hasn't even thought twice about us. And when I've told this to people at work who are religious, spiritual, whatever,
right,
I was like, I think one of the smallest ants is a sugar ant. If you were to take a sugar ant and dissect it into 20 small parts, then take one of those parts and put tape on it on the ground, then you go to the top of the Empire State Building and look down, you still are not getting the full visual of how big the observable universe is. So you're just like, well, I don't want to put this out in the universe. You're like, do you really think you're that important?
Exactly.
Right?
It's
Where
so
we are.
narcissistic.
Yeah, how many billions of people are just on the planet Earth? Someone right now during this conversation just died in Munich, Germany. And it won't move the needle in our world at all. I could go to sleep tonight and not wake up. The person who lives down the street, who I've never met, it won't move the needle in their world.
Right.
Which brings me to the other part that you were talking about, religion. To me, religion, the hard part about not having religion is you now have to take 100% responsibility for your fuck ups.
Right.
Right? When Robert Christopher Reed drops the ball, I have to take responsibility. I can't say, well, God gave me free will. No, I fucked up. That's it. I now have to go and make amends. Religion is good because you no longer have responsibility. Again, I can call that person a faggot, and when this person says you're being homophobic, excuse me, I can pull a Frank Turek. And if you haven't looked at Frank Turek, you need to look at some fucking Frank Turek and make sure there's nothing breakable around you, because you're going to punch some shit. Because his big thing is always to say, well, that's not my morality, that's Jesus's morality.
Yeah.
And so it's hard. It is difficult because we're all going to drop the ball.
Yeah.
And when we drop the ball, those of us that are on this side of the camp say, you know what? I fucked up and I'm really sorry. And I totally understand. I may lose your friendship over this, or
right.
You may divorce me, whatever the fuck. Over here on this camp, it's not my fuck up. That's God saying it. So religion is hard or non-belief is hard because you are responsible for your own pile of shit every time you lay one.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's on an individual basis. Now, what about the collective basis where you have the religion or spiritual, doesn't matter which camp you're in, when you have the either blind faith or the toxic positivity where you refuse to see that there is bad people in this world, and there are, people who you cannot praise somebody into being a good person. You cannot manifest somebody's brain to think or to, or for their behavior to become different just because you send love their way or send them positive vibes or you pray for them. Like, some people are just terrible people. And if you refuse to see that, if those people are fathers of a family, mothers of a family, or connected to other humans in any way, you're almost reinforcing the fact that they're shitty human beings, because nobody should pay attention to that, because we shouldn't judge them, or because you're just not loving them hard enough, or you're refusing to see the good in them. When you have a whole collection of people that think that way, it's in no way productive. It's counterproductive at the very best.
True. Very true. And that's a problem with communities. Communities are equally positive and can also be equally fucked up. Because the one thing I've noticed, pardon me, like, she who shall not be named, at my second coffee talk with this pathological liar, we talked about Bible studies, and someone who I don't dislike, I just don't respect enough to talk to anymore. This person was on her show, and I told them, I truly believe, because I've asked to go to Bible studies. I'll sit in the back and I won't say a damn word. I just want to hear what you guys have to say. And almost to a person, I got the same response, and that is, well, we don't want to make you mad. It's like, really? That's what you're worried about? You just told me yesterday I'm going to be tortured for fucking ever.
Yeah. But
you have got the key to my salvation, and you're worried about my feelings. But this one person on this lady's channel, because I told them that, and this person was like, well, you can come to my Bible study. 7 years later, I'm still waiting on the fucking invitation, because that community is important to them, because they know good and goddamn well. If they tell me and Peter that a man lived in a whale's belly for 3 days, we're gonna be like, guys, come on, shut the fuck up. Seriously, what about the pressure? What about the stomach acid? That doesn't make any sense. So that community is important to them because it protects their willful ignorance.
Yeah,
they can't invite you because they know you're going to ask questions, and you're going to ask tough questions, and they won't have the answers. And it's funny that you should mention the whole whale thing. I think it was last week when I was on Twitter talking to a guy, and this guy was convinced that was absolutely possible. the fact first, you're going to be bitten in half before you go down the throat. That's part one. And he came up with the blue whale. The blue whale is big enough. Yeah, just keep in mind that the hole you need to go through at the end of the throat is as big as a grapefruit.
Oh, holy crap!
So it's not very likely that you're going to get through. And then you got stomach acids, and you got no oxygen.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
My favorite comeback to the being swallowed by a whale, and I've heard this more than once. Because it's like, do you guys really think that a dude lived in a whale? And it's kind of like the whole religion thing, where like, Robert, it's a relationship. Hello. The first time I heard it, it was a former UT football player, because they hooked me up with him because they thought he could get me to come back to the flock. And I told him about the whole whale thing, and he was like, Robert, okay, it was a great fish. Hello. And I'm like, that doesn't make it any fucking better. I don't care if it was a perch. You don't live in a fucking fish's belly, especially a great whale or a great fish. If nothing else, those fuckers dive to a depth that we can't survive at, much less anything else. So, I mean, it's,
the pressure alone would kill you. That's yeah. I mean,
along with the lack of oxygen and everything else,
and being in a whale's mouth. But don't you think, like, I don't know. I would think that most Christians, like, the stories they think of them metaphorically, right? Like most of those stories, right?
Yeah. So
that to me is another cop out, though.
Beach Price. I just put that on screen. Beach Price said it's they call it a metaphor. What did the people think before Jesus? They related to Jesus the 3 days. The people before Jesus didn't think of that because they had no clue that there was a Jesus coming. I mean, Jesus isn't mentioned in the Old Testament anywhere. There's a guy mentioned, and his name should be Emmanuel, and we're still waiting for him to arrive, I guess.
My problem with the whole metaphor bullshit story is, again, I can ask my next door neighbor who's a Christian, was the whale story a metaphor? They'll look at me and laugh and be like, of course, Robert, give me a break. This neighbor will tell you, oh, no, that shit really happened. Right? I let's say I know 100 Christians. Literally, 50 of them have told me the flood, an actual scientific, biological, measurable event. 50 Christians over here will tell me, hello, Rob, that was a metaphor. So, I mean, the whole metaphor thing, if one more Christian tells me it's a metaphor, I may punch my computer screen. Because, again, and when we talk to Fuckface, the street pastor. And, I remember talking to that fucker about some shit. And I remember telling him, I can't remember what I said, but he was like, one, those Christians are wrong. And he was like, well, that's why you're an atheist. I was like, no, ask why.
You have a little brain.
And I was like, I'm an atheist because the story, I don't believe it. Not because this person said it's a metaphor and this person says it's literal. So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that's on them. I've given up that portion of the fight. Yeah, you guys have to decide who's right. I'm out of this shit. That you guys look stupid on your own. Sorry. But when you tell me that a teenager who's never had sex gets pregnant, it's easy to say I believe it when we're talking about 2,500 years ago. But you know good and goddamn well that if your pewmate, the person sitting right next to you at church, tells you, hey, John, I got to tell you a secret. My 14-year-old daughter's, she's pregnant. The first thing you're going to say is, man, I'm so sorry to hear that. That's, how can I help? And then when John tells you, oh, no, you don't understand. My daughter hasn't had sex yet. you would tell your family, we're not talking to the Johnsons anymore because those fuckers are crazy, right? This stuff only works as long as you are separated from the story. You cannot believe that stuff. You don't believe a whale swallowed a man. You don't believe a virgin got pregnant. I'm not buying anything they say. I refuse.
How much Maury wasn't around because somebody really got hustled with that bullshit.
Yeah. Hey, for all the ladies out there, try that with your man. Try that tonight. Tell your boyfriends and your husbands, hey, I'm pregnant. Oh, but by the way, it's not yours. Well, who the fuck is it? It's the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Watch how fast he divorces you in half a fucking second.
Holy freak, yeah.
And have you noticed that you can't commit adultery? But how did we get Jesus?
Yeah, exactly. That's so true. There's so much. That was my whole problem with religion, and it's also my problem with spirituality. Is there's so much contradiction. Like nobody.
I'm gonna laugh. I gotta mute myself.
No, you can't mute yourself. That's real.
He's cracking up.
I mean, there's so many things in the Bible that just don't add up. I mean, yeah. So,
I'm sorry. That was a good one.
And there's no Christian.
Okay,
One of the great things, I don't know if you saw that on Twitter. Someone tweeted it that an explanation for the Holy Trinity was a pretzel. Did you see that?
No,
because the pretzel. No, listen. The pretzel has 3 holes, and they're all connected by the dough of the pretzel, and that is how the Holy Trinity works. So. Here's my explanation. If the dough is the reality, there are 3 holes in the reality. That's exactly where the Holy Trinity fits in.
I'm sorry.
There's nothing there.
Let me tell you why I think that's funny, other than it's fucking nuts. Oh my God. I'm gonna die. So, all this talk about infidelity and virgins getting pregnant. A friend of mine, her and her boyfriend have this, let's just say, very vibrant sex life, and she calls it. Oh, I'm sorry. She calls. So when they have just that kind of night, she calls it the 3-hole tour, and so. And so when you sit there and you talk about the Trinity and, again, the Virgin Mary, this shit doesn't work anywhere but the fucking Bible. And so when you say the principle's got 3 holes, if there is a hell, I just went there. I'm sorry.
You just gave me the perfect image. Every time I'm going to see the pretzel, I'm going to think of the 3-hole tour. And I might even explain it to them.
It's still so interesting to me that people choose religion or spirituality over the self. Like there must be something deeper that makes people, mostly, like, aside from people watching this channel and people who subscribe to atheism or people who are atheists. I mean, aside from people who choose not to subscribe to religion and spirituality, it seems like more people than not. I don't know, maybe it's conditioning from generations and generations not promoting the value of believing in yourself instead of some outward entity or something outside of yourself. That's the thing that I think is still so crazy, because how much different would the world be if people were just taught to believe in their self, not in God, not in spirituality, not in the soul, but just believe in yourself, learn to optimize, the use of your brain or understand your brain. Then I wouldn't feel so stupid, that's for sure.
Well, that's the thing about religion, though. It's, at least with Christianity, it is handed down from generation to generation that you can't do this on your own. You are a useless, sinful sack of shit. Everything Ray Comfort, that asshole, right?
Yeah,
have you ever told a lie? Have you ever stolen anything?
Even worse, Robert. Worse. Have you seen Georgia Purdum's interview? The woman from Answers in Genesis.
No.
It was a couple of years ago, and she at that time her daughter was 5 years old, and during the interview she said that I have told my daughter that she is a horrible person. She deserves hell. There's
No, I'm
nothing
glad
she
he
can
didn't see
do
that.
to escape that,
No.
but she needs to accept Jesus as her Lord and Savior in order to get to heaven. If that is how you raise your children, I would call that child abuse. If you're going to
It is.
sit there and tell a 5-year-old that they're a terrible human being, that is going to last. And I know it's going to last because
yeah.
I talked to adults who are atheists at this time, but still struggle with the part of
Excuse
hell
me.
because that was so indoctrinated. There was such an emphasis on the whole hell thing that they still struggle even after being an atheist for decades.
Yeah. We talked about that with when Craig was on our channel.
Mhm.
And I told him, and again, for everyone who sees me looking over the screen, my screen is blurry, so forgive my gaze. But yeah, we wouldn't raise our children like this. Or
No.
if you did, we would call CPS. My parents taught me from day one, there's nothing that you can't do. Now, you may have to work twice as hard to get half the results, excuse me, but you can do it. During the whole George Floyd thing, it's part of the reason why I never buy my phone. One of the text messages I constantly get from people is, Robert, don't worry, you're a good person. And I just got to the point where I hung up my phone, but I was like, I already know that. And I know that because my mom tells me that. I'm almost 50. Every single fucking time I talk to my mother tells me, you're a beautiful person. You're a great person. Right? And so I've got my mom telling me I'm a good person, but God's telling me I'm a sack of shit. We seriously would not raise our children like this. So, I mean, you want to talk about, where does it come from? We're taught to teach every generation, you can't do this on your own. That's why Jesus had to come and die, because you're a sack of shit. I'm saying it the way it TI is. Christians will wrap it up in bubble gum and cotton candy and smile, but the bottom line is this shit gets passed down from generation to generation because we are taught that we are sacks of shit.
Yeah. And then you wonder why people are so insecure, so afraid to take to challenge themselves and to take chances, and why people think that they can't change, why people get older and get set in their ways and think that they can't learn new things because you're probably generational. It has to be. And that doesn't make any that's why I think if people were to, I think that's why people jump from, well, I can only speak for myself, but when I went from religion to spirituality, thinking spirituality was the next upgrade, but eventually the more you look into what you believe and what you're practicing, the more you realize even if you're not taking responsibility for your life being shitty because you didn't make the right decisions, at some point you start to think like, wow, I'm really playing myself with this stuff because I'm not evolving. Like spirituality doesn't show you anything practical. It just shows you another book to read. It just shows you another meditation to do. It just shows you another guru to follow. And at the end of the day, it's like you're running away from yourself by following other people.
Agreed. And I think it all comes down to, at the end of the day, again, responsibility is tough. Right? Being able to admit I totally fucked up, being able to admit I dropped the ball, I did something wrong, I said something wrong, it's difficult. And the one thing that I think religion does offer, again, like I said earlier, it's an escape from that responsibility.
Yeah.
Right? Well, why did you say this? Well, I'm a fallen person, that's why Jesus had to die for me. No, sometimes you just have to say, you know why I said that? Because actually, I just cranked out a video about Skip Bayless, the sports reporter who said, basically, if you're a football player, suck it up. You can't have a mental illness. You can't have a weak moment. You're the quarterback. Everyone's looking at you. And he put out a response video, and he basically said nothing, where he just said he apologized because you misunderstood the message, right? My point in bringing Skip Fuckface Bayless up is the best thing he could have done was to say, you know what? I fucked up. I said something that was totally out of line. I'm apologizing. I'm going to put in the work to make myself better. I totally understand. Probably at least half of you are going to hate me forever. I can't change your mind, but I'm telling you, I am sorry for what it is I have said. That is hard as shit. That's hard to do. That's religion, though. Religion gives you the ability to not take a stand and say, I fucked up. We're not fallen. Some carpenter didn't have to be sacrificed for me.
Yeah, carpenter.
I do good shit, and I've done some bad shit. But at the end of the day, it's my shit. So right. I have to take responsibility. And that is fucking hard sometimes. That's why I think part of the reason people hold on to religion. It's an easy way to say, it's not my fault.
Yeah, and they're afraid of dying.
And I also think it's an excuse to do nothing.
I'm tired. I don't sleep, E. And the way I see it, death means I get to sleep. I've been up for 2 straight days. I'm tired. You caught that. I thought no one heard that.
No, I heard that.
No, but I also think that religion keeps you from doing anything. And I remember a couple of years back, and now I forgot his name. I just had it. English comedian. When a hurricane hit, everyone was sending thoughts and prayers, and he tweeted, "Well, everyone's sending thoughts and prayers. I feel really stupid now. All I did was send money."
Yeah. And, you gotta go ahead.
Yeah. So, how are thoughts and prayers going to help?
Yeah,
because you got the Christians on one side who say, "Hey, the hurricane was sent because you're terrible people," and then the other side is sending thoughts and prayers, and they're praying to the God who just killed a couple of people.
Exactly.
It doesn't make any sense, not at all.
No, and it's insulting too.
If the prayers would have helped, then nobody would have gotten killed, and no houses would have been demolished. Nothing would have happened. Just a slight breeze. It doesn't work that way.
When I asked Fuckface about God's plan, can you tell I didn't like that guy?
Sorry, but every time you say that name, I'm going to laugh. And every time you say that name, we've got Downard Head in the side chat, and he thinks that you're calling him. So.
But no, the other fuckface, because I asked just about every Christian this question about God's plan. Can you change God's plan? With the exception of fuckface, everyone else has said no. Then I'm like, okay, then according to your model, I'm not responsible, right? If I go out and I T-bone a minivan and I kill a family of 4, knock on wood, it's not my fault. It was within God's plan, and there's nothing I can do to change it. Except fuckface said, you can change God's plan. And that was maybe the second time where I said, you have literally contradicted every Christian I've ever talked to. And for the second time during that talk, he said, I know that's why you're an atheist. But the bottom line is, as far as I'm concerned, life can be difficult. We've all had some bad shit happen to us. We've all buried people before we thought it was time. It's really hard to accept that sometimes bad shit happens. I've always said, look, if there was actually a God, every rich person would be poor, every poor person would be rich.
Right.
Right? I mean, life is beautiful. life can also be equally hard as shit. And sometimes that is a hard pill to fucking swallow. And it's easy, not really, but it's easy to put that responsibility on the shoulders of a dead carpenter.
Yeah. And I
it's hard to do it yourself. Go ahead, E.
No, I agree with you. But I was just going to say, I don't think that all Christians are in Christianity for the ability to evade responsibility. I think a lot of them, and a lot of people in the spiritual community too, I think a lot of them are just scared to die. Like, people are afraid of the idea that, like, when I die, that's it. Like, the only chance I have to make an impact ever is right now during this lifetime. And I think that people, like, the idea of never seeing your family again or your friends, I think that probably for a lot of people keeps them in religion, because come on, if you read the Bible, you can't be believing that bullshit. So you know what I mean?
But that's also held over your head. Because I remember when I was on, it's too long of a sentence to say, fuck it. When I was on SJ's channel the first time, I told her the first time I got kicked out of Sunday school was because I would not stop asking about the shit on Noah's Ark.
Yeah.
It just didn't make any sense. I'm like, okay, on a conservative count, and I'm a kid. I'm a kid during this time. And I was like, okay, on a conservative count, there's thousands of animals on this boat. If you shovel the elephant shit, and if you read the Bible, that's about a little bit longer than a football field. So let's say your elephants are all the way on the back. There's 2 of them. By the time you scoop up, let's not even talk about the fact that they didn't have the technology of today. That shovel was made out of wood. The elephant shit is as big as I am. So let's just assume that it didn't break. That's you walking over a quarter of a mile. You throw this shit overboard because that's what they said. Well, they just threw it overboard. Great. By the time you walk back, not only did that elephant take a shit, but the other elephant took a shit. All the lions, tigers, everyone's taking a shit. Long story short, because my Sunday school teacher could not keep up with me, she told me, if you ask that question one more time, not only will you go to hell, but you will never see your family ever again.
Oh my God.
I lie to you not. I lie to you not. And that was her response, SJ's. And she was like, well, they shouldn't have taught you that. But I'm like, but that's fucking Christianity. If you don't do what you're told, and by do what you're told, if you don't jerk God off on a second-by-second basis, you're going to go to hell, right? And so, I mean, they keep that stuff over your head. And I completely forgot where I was going with all of this. But again, responsibility is difficult. It can be difficult. And holding that shit over not just a child's head, but an adult's head, it's easy. Because you're right. People don't want, that's where I was going with it. People don't want to die.
Yep.
But if there's one thing that I've learned in my almost 50 years on this planet, you worry about the things you can control. Instead of worrying about the one inevitable day that we all have, you can't control it. I'm going to die. Peter's going to die. We're all going to fucking die one day. I can't control that. So instead of worrying about the one inevitable day that none of us can control, worry about the thousands of days you have before that fucking moment. Exactly. And that's the difference between us and the Christians. Every Christian that I've talked to on Twitter, it's, what about when you die? What about when you die? And I'm like, fuck it. What about when I live?
Yeah.
Right? And there's
I
another
want to fall
thing.
in love. I want to go ahead.
There's another thing, because if you think that there's going to be an afterlife and you're going to see your family again, you're less likely to solve problems right here, right now.
That's
because,
what I mean. Exactly. That's my whole problem with it.
And we know we only get one shot. So if you've got a problem with someone you really care about, you're going to solve that problem.
Yep.
Because you only got this one shot. You only got this one life. If you fuck up a friendship that you actually care about, or a relationship with some of your relatives, you need to fix that now. There's no hereafter. where you meet up and everything is jolly.
Hunky-dory,
It's not going to happen.
Or
And
if you have abusive people in your family, narcissists, terrible people in your family, you shouldn't force yourself in relationships with those people just because God is going to look down on you if you don't forgive them. Fuck that. Some people you should not associate with, and forgiveness has nothing to do with it. You have to love yourself and be loyal to yourself first before anything else.
Yep.
Exactly. I fully agree. I fully agree with that too. If you have abusive people in your immediate surroundings, push them away. No problem. Whether or not they're relatives or not. I have this weird concept, and that is my friends are the family that I chose. My relatives are the one that I got through birth. 9 out of 10 times the one I chose are a lot better than the one that I already had.
Yeah, I would like to send back the ones that I was given at birth, as a matter of fact. I would like to make a trade.
It's funny what my brain fucking chooses to recall. Again, we talked about this with Fuckface, Peter, and I remember you asked him a question because we went down the whole, what happens to the Muslim lady who gets raped and murdered, but her rapist accepts God, right? And he went on his whole stupid ass tangent. And I remember you asking him, let's say that they both kind of repented, let's just kind of hypothetically say they share the same cloud. And I remember you asking him, how is that any justice?
Yeah, there is no
to the rape survivor, right? And again, if the survivor and the perpetrator get the exact same reward for simply saying the same sentence, right? And it kind of flips the whole, like the evangelist argument on its ear. We've all seen the assholes, and I won't repeat what like Ray Comfort says because he gets way too graphic. But he's like,
oh, that little guy.
And after talking to Aaron Raw and finding out basically he's just doing this for a paycheck, it makes me loathe that fucker even more. But he always brings up sex crimes, and he always goes way overboard on the description. And then he always, and actually all the apologists do it. I've seen all those fuckers do it. They always bring up sex crimes. They always bring up and it pisses me off. Mm-hmm. But it's what about the person?
And it gets worse. Did you know that Hovind, I think a month or two ago, brought out a couple of videos that his videos made Jeffrey Dahmer accept Christ, and that's why he's in heaven now.
Jeffrey Dahmer's in heaven?
He took credit for that.
That's a well-known fact, and that's something I've argued with Christians. Apparently, Jeffrey Dahmer did accept Christ before he died, and I remember asking other people because this fucker hurt, killed, froze, then ate 17 boys
that we know of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So even if one of those boys was Muslim, Hindu, anything other than the right kind of Christianity, Jeffrey Dahmer is now sitting next to Jesus enjoying paradise. And one of his victims is being tortured forever. Mm-hmm. And I remember the answer I got. And that is, well, Robert, we both have the same amount of time to accept Jesus. I was like, you know what? Fuck you and your explanation. That is no different than asking me, what was I doing around a whole bunch of Ku Klux Klan guys before they beat me up and hung me by my neck till I was dead? Yeah. If you blame a victim, you are a sack of shit. And so when you can sit there and say things about, rapists who go to heaven, but their victim is Hindu and she gets to be...
Or in Jeffrey Dahmer's case, homosexual.
Yeah,
And
that you are a sack of shit.
idea. Like whoever came up with heaven was not creative, because you're gonna make all the sacrifices on earth just to sit at the feet and knees, or sit at the knees of a God. Well, who knows which one of the three? The Holy Ghost. Oh wait, does the Holy Ghost disappear when you go to heaven because he's sent to earth with you, right? So maybe the Holy Ghost isn't in heaven with you. I don't know. And I don't even know who you're kneeling at. Is it Jesus or is it God? But heaven sucks, man. You know Notorious Big, when he said Notorious B.I.G., he said, "Fuck going to heaven with the goody goodies," out of whether with black Tims and black hoodies.
Yeah.
Like, all day. Like, you're not gonna do anything fun in heaven. So why would you make all these sacrifices? Whoever made up heaven was tripping, dude. It's so boring up there.
All right, so I gotta say, fuck me. I'm so glad you're part of our team. I think you're cool as shit. You can talk all the time as far as I'm concerned. Anyone who can crank a BIG reference is all right with me. That's some cool shit.
No, but the idea of, seriously though, the idea of heaven is just so dumb. Like, okay, so our ghost spirits are gonna float up and then hover. Where do we hover, by the way? Like in the universe, somewhere in between like the moon and the earth? Where exactly is heaven? Nobody has any idea about that either. And there's
Go ahead.
No, that's it. I was just rambling.
Well, I was just saying, I guess it depends on the Christian, because I remember when we talked to Fuckface, I told him what another Christian told me on Twitter. She DM'd me. She told me that heaven, oh, come on, let's go. Heaven, I'm being summoned. Heaven is just one big party. So basically everything you like will be there. And I was like, well, and I remember telling this person, I like gin, pizza, and full-bodied redheads. I never got a response to that. But I was like, look, if you want to know what my heaven is, it's that. This person never responded. But then I got to talk to Fuckface, and we were like, well, look, heaven is, it was like, he got really serious. It was like, look, okay, no one's going to be partying. We're going to be worshiping Jesus.
Yeah.
Like, what? For like forever? So basically heaven is get all the chapstick and knee pads you can possibly get, because your eternity is going to be spent on your fucking, hold on. This is happening. Hold on. You guys got to see this. The brotherly fight is kicking up. Oh, here we go. So and it has begun. Oh, Bubs. Okay. This is jealousy, but everyone continue while this is happening in the background. Sorry. Guys.
Yeah, no, heaven is a strange idea. It's a strange concept. Oh, then there's the Garden of Eden, the garden of whatever garden you get when you go up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what are you wearing also?
Well, my idea of heaven, okay, so pizza, redheads, alcohol.
But your spirit doesn't eat, so you don't get pizza. Sorry for you.
Well, that fucking blows.
Yeah.
I no longer own a suit. After my divorce.
Wait a minute. You left out dogs?
Oh no, that's a given. So this is the part of my heaven. Hold on, y'all. And Bubba just left, and Papa is still here. Oh no, now the fight. Yeah, so this is happening. But fuck what you. It's
about time we had a dog fight on the channel.
Here we go. I'm wearing a superhero shirt, bleach-stained sweats.
Is what Beach Price? I just looked at the comments. I can't multitask, but I go back and forth. Beach Price just says, it doesn't say people go to heaven. I thought people stayed on a new earth. That's true too. It does say that in the Bible that there's a new earth. Yeah, that's true. So which is it? You go to heaven, or there's a new earth?
I guess it depends on who you ask, right?
Yes, because I've also heard that whenever you die, like your spirit stays, I guess, in the coffin in your body with you. I don't know, wherever you're dead, your spirit is like, like you don't get to go to heaven until the rapture. So basically you're
yes.
Right?
Yeah. So isn't that a little bit part of the tortured misinterpretation or just interpretation? That's kind of, is it Jehovah's Witness?
Oh,
That we're all dead until
like in limbo or something.
they're like kind of the final cut.
Yeah.
Again, it just depends on who you ask, right? It's like when I talked to SJ, she said something because I asked her a whole bunch of, am I going to heaven and go to hell? In her typical fashion, she did everything but answer the question. And both her and Craig, which I've read the Bible 3 times from cover to cover, and I still study it. They said something along the lines of, well, if I die, who's to say Jesus won't hold you kind of in limbo for 5 minutes to say, hey, here I am. Are you ready to wake up? I'm like, you're just pulling shit out of your ass. You're making shit up.
Yeah,
and that's why apparently there's one God. His word's infallible, but there's literally over 33,000 different denominations of Christianity. So much, in fact, that when I first came out as an atheist, everyone was hooking me up with their pastor, priest, elder, deacon to try to get me to come back. And I would tell them, just like when I would talk to Fuckface, this is what this one told me. You're telling me something totally different. This Christian over here would tell me, not only is this Christian over here wrong, but they're so wrong that when they die, they're going to go to hell and be tortured forever right next to you, Robert. I'm like,
crazy.
You guys are fucked up.
But they can't be tortured forever because they don't get eternal life. So you just burn and get tortured for a little bit until you die because your soul is not permitted eternal life. So that's
it depends on which ones you ask because, like in Revelations, right? I think there are 7 bowls. I got to reread Revelation. I think there's 7 bowls. If Lilith's in the side chat, babe, correct me if I'm wrong. There's 7 bowls.
She's getting ready to get to your heaven. I just
okay.
Yeah.
So there's, I think, atheists or non-believers in general. We're the 4th bowl. When the angels tip that one over, a beam from the sun is going to find every single last one of us and burn us to death. That's our first death. Then the second death is when we get to go to hell, where the fire just never stops and we will be tortured forever. And I'm like, that sounds really fucked up. Like really bad.
Yeah.
And now I have a question.
Answer.
So, what goes to heaven and what goes to hell? That's supposedly. Wait. That's supposedly.
Inanimate objects, exactly.
Yeah, that's supposedly your eternal soul. So how do you burn a soul?
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like, can somebody explain what the fuck the soul is? I've tried to figure it out. It always comes back to the brain. It's like in a part of our imagination. Me and Peter were talking about this before we got on here, and that's something that I meant to ask. What is the soul? Because I tried to figure that out. My next video is going to be about that, and the more I try to explain what I think it is, the stupider I sound because I don't know what the fuck it is. So it seems like a part of it, like the brain is it all goes back to the brain, like a part of your imagination, your ability to what is the soul?
I think trying to figure out the soul is like trying to say what is a widget.
What is a widget?
Erica, there's a good show in this because you just said, what the fuck is a soul? You're Erica Hernandez. We have an apologist called Eric Hernandez.
Oh, we should ask
his major point about Christianity is that we have a soul, and he says that he has evidence of a soul. So we should have a conversation with him.
Yes, we should, because I would like to know about that evidence. Because if I'm wrong, I want to get to know my soul, and how can I use it to bring me some money, baby? Because that's what I need.
You know, I think maybe the older I get, the more of a rancid asshole I become. If you have, if there's a soul, don't worry, because you can't. It's like, I won't even say this person's name. I won't even say what this person's handle is. But not every time. I don't talk to this fucker anymore. Long story short, this person is not a Christian, but he's got Wi-Fi. And so every time I've posted things about hell or something like that, he always tries to chime in and try and tell me I'm wrong, and not just me, but the pastors that raised me and everything else. And I
You're right, but yours are wrong.
But here's the thing. I stopped talking to him because I straight up told him, I'm not your target audience. You need to start a church. You need to change Christianity. And until that day, you get no traction with me.
Robert, you just figured out what the soul is.
What's that?
The soul is a fucking God damn it, I just had it. The soul, what did you just say? You said you're preaching to the wrong crowd or whatever. That's what the soul is. The soul is a fucking market. The soul is a market. We can start our own church and create and make a lot of fucking money with this soul.
But that's exactly what I told this fucker. It was like, until you change the face of Christianity, you can't talk to me. I'm not your target audience. And I told you, you're just another internet smart guy. You've got Wi-Fi, so you know more than people who've been doing this for 70 years. I don't want to hear your fucking mouth. Whoever this Erica Hernandez dude is, who can prove there's a soul, get your ass off of fucking YouTube. Go to the scientific community, prove there's a soul, win a Nobel Peace Prize. But until then, you're just another fucker who can afford monthly internet service. I don't want to hear anyone's mouth out of this shit.
Exactly. And how about this? The people who have already proven there isn't a soul are like brain dead, or people who have experienced any type of brain damage and who now can no longer function how they did prior to that brain damage. Because why didn't the soul take over? And this is actually, I'm copying off of somebody else. I read this somewhere. I don't remember where. Right. But it was a point somebody else made. And that's a very good point, because if there's a soul, an all-powerful soul, then it should be able to take the wheel where the brain is not able to anymore.
Right. See, and that's what I'm saying. I'll still do the YouTube talks and everything else, but my bottom line is this: talking to atheists over the internet, we aren't your target audience. If you have that kind of juice, you can change the world. Like SJ, I think she's a pathical liar and a sack of shit. But if your argument about why are the apostles so brave, that stone cold, don't take it to me. Take it to people who are 19,000 steps above my pay grade. Go prove it to them. Change the world, just like anyone else.
We just had,
What's that?
We just had another 9/11. If someone tells me why the apostles so brave, they need to explain 9/11 to me. Why were they so brave?
Exactly.
If that is your argument, then you lost already.
And why were the apostles brave? Because they thought they were in a cult?
No, because they saw the risen Jesus, and they were so brave they were willing to lay down their life for him. Remind you of a couple of people flying airplanes into buildings? I mean,
exactly. Radical extremists.
I said that on my first coffee talk with her. That's when I brought up David Koresh. No, it wasn't coffee talk. Peter, that's when I met you, actually. And I asked her, because all those people at the Branch Davidian, they were convinced that David Koresh was Jesus. Yep. And they were all willing to die because David Koresh was Jesus. Mm-hmm. He was the only person allowed to have sex in the Branch Davidian was Jesus. I know survivors, because I didn't know this until about how many years ago. One of the biggest cults in the world is the Children of God. Austin, where I live.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, Austin is a major hub for their escapees. The Branch Davidian. What's that?
Austin is popping, not because of that, but
no, it's a place to be.
Yeah.
Both the Branch Davidian and the Children of God, they both had a centerpiece. One was David Koresh. The other one was David Berg. They both said they were Jesus. The people in the Children of God were so convinced that this fucker was Jesus, and I will spare you the details, but let's just say when my daughter reached the age of sexual maturity, I would give my daughter to Jesus. You can go from there.
Ugh.
When David Koresh told everyone he was Jesus, two things. The only person allowed to have sex in that cult was Jesus. So he was knocking everyone up.
Oh, I bet he was, little perv.
Right. And then he made everyone pretty much die. And when I asked SJ, well, what's the difference? Your apostles were brave, so they died for what they thought was Jesus. So did the believers of David Berg. So did the believers of David Koresh. And the only thing that idiot could fucking say to me was, did David Koresh come back to life? And I remember telling her, it doesn't fucking matter. I don't care if he came back to life or not. He convinced people the exact same bullshit that
but
Jesus
the answer to that question is yes, because he was the second coming of Jesus, so he did come back to life.
Bam. Hey, there you go. There you go. But you can't tell her that.
No.
Right.
Because she has a diseased brain and she's a sack of shit. And I hope she sees it.
Who's SJ?
SJ here's a long story for you, made very short. What I flushed down the toilet this morning has more integrity.
Oh wow.
Than
and more
Stephanie
content.
Thompson.
And more
Yeah.
It smells
This
better.
is true. So here's my imitation of Stephanie Thomason. If I tell you my name is Robert Reed, then you say, oh, your name's Robert Reed. If I'm SJ, I'm like, I never said that. And then you'll be like, well, hold on. I'm going to rewind the tape. You said right here, your name's Robert Reed. Not only did I not say that my name's Robert Reed, I'm the most picked on person in the history of Twitter. Why does everyone hate me? That is Stephanie Thomason, except she takes it to a point to where it is literally lethal.
Oh, is she a thing? Like she has a following and everything?
Oh, tens of thousands.
Well. Keep in mind those tens of thousands. You could have those if you spend a few dollars. You can get followers on Twitter. That's
my very first fight with Stephanie. She put out a tweet, and if she sees this, she will still deny it. She said, "Christianity cures depression."
Oh yeah, right. It causes depression.
Yeah, I'm a suicide survivor. I've made a great effort at not being here, but apparently I suck at suicide. I have to take anywhere.
Thank God.
Well, no, thank you very much. I'm very open about it.
I'm glad you did.
I take about a dozen pills a day. Yeah, I take about a dozen pills a day to be normal. Excuse me. I see a shrink, a psychiatrist, and I told her, your tweet is potentially lethal because mental health and suicide, like football, is a game of inches and seconds.
Yes, it's true.
If I fall to my knees at 5 o'clock to pray to a God that's not going to help me,
then boom. Yep.
I could do something I can't take back.
And that's what people need to really give more attention to. That's so true because mental health is serious.
It's very serious.
Yes, and when somebody's having those suicidal thoughts, nothing seems more relieving, or nothing is more of a more peaceful thought than ending everything. Because for some people, I know people talk crap about whoever has committed suicide, but I understand for a lot of people how it could become too much, and in a snap decision they may decide, I can't do this anymore.
And you said it right, the snap decision, because my last attempt was right after one of my last major episodes with rapid cycling. And basically, if people out there don't know what rapid cycling is, think about running the New York City Marathon 5 times in a row. Now multiply that by 1,000. That's how tired you are emotionally after rapid cycling. And all I wanted to do was not be alive. And I lie to you not when I tell you, the first thing I did was to call my shrink, who put me in touch with my psychiatrist. If I had not made that call, if I would have dropped to my knees and prayed at 5 o'clock, I wouldn't be here. I didn't have 60 seconds to spare. So when I told her that, I was like, look, your tweet is potentially fucking lethal.
Yes, literally.
Her only response was, because I told her my story, all she said was, "I'm so sorry, Robert." She didn't delete the tweet. She didn't correct it. That's Stephanie Thomason. She is a pathical liar, narcissistic sack of shit who's probably costed someone their life, and she gets to bobblehead doll her way through fucking life, being totally unaware of the potential damage that she's caused. So if you want to know who SJ is, again, the shit that I flushed this morning has more integrity than that person right there. And I hope she sees what I said about her. I honestly and truly do.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Downard had just said in the side chat, "Who's SJ? Abort, abort, abort." I think Downard had it right. But let's say something nice about SJ.
I can't.
I can.
I can't.
I can. I can.
Oh, can
and I
you?
can
Go
prove,
ahead. Go ahead.
I can prove it.
Go ahead.
I met you on her channel.
You know what? Yes. She's,
So
you're right. She got you and I in contact with each other. We've been friends ever since.
yeah.
She loves wrestling, and I love wrestling. So I'll say that about her.
And she's good she's good for comedy because she will tweet that atheists are probably atheists because they had a shitty dad. And then
my God, say it.
Within 24 hours, within 24 hours tweets, one of my brothers is an atheist and I think the other one is going to be too. So there's a lot of comedy.
She buries herself.
And what would Florida Line do if SJ dropped off of Twitter? I mean,
oh my God. So I can't remember when it was, but I talked about, God, these allergies are killing me. Jesus. But I talked about that conversation she and I had where she said, God gave us the Holocaust to teach us how to treat Jews.
Yep.
Remember that one?
Yeah.
And she responded.
I have to say something about that because I made a short video and put that on Twitter. And SJ got mad because I made a few cuts. And I did. But I also have the link to that original conversation. So if anyone wants to check what I put in that video was not out of context, was not edited in any way to make it look worse than it actually was. It was her saying it. It was Craig saying, "Yep, that's what she said." After you asked, "Did you just say that?"
Yep.
So
and now, when I called her out about it, not only did you put a video out, but Florida Line did. Yep. And Stephanie refused, even though it was sitting, and the video that you put out had over 1,200 views, and you circled it when you put it into the thread. Mm-hmm. And she kept denying. And I remember the last thing she said was, "Robert, I didn't say it, and I'm glad your deceit is coming to the light." And then I sent that clip to Lilith. And I was like, okay, maybe I didn't hear what I thought I heard. Could you please listen to this video? And within half a second, she replied, which tells me she didn't watch the video. She was like, no, she said what she said. And that's when I learned what the term gaslighting was. And so that's for your knowledge, and I hope you never interact with her because I'm a worse person as a result. This is who SJ is. SJ is a horrible person, and you will only be worse off by interacting with her. So if you ever see a tweet from SJ Thomason, I hope this doesn't get me in trouble with Twitter. Just mute the fucking conversation. It's literally like having a conversation with a Klansman, telling that person, hey, you know what? My life is worth something. Please don't hang me by the neck until I'm dead. I can't convince that person. It's just like we can't convince SJ to stop saying literally emotionally lethal shit. That's a really long way to say don't interact with her.
Exactly.
You're better for not knowing who she is.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I got curious and looked up her Twitter page.
See, that always happens.
Let's
And
yeah.
and to be fair, to be to be fair, Robert, that is exactly what Erica should do. She shouldn't believe you. She shouldn't believe me. She should just go and have a look. Because
Oh, I am.
You've
Yeah.
been warned.
yeah,
Of
you're
course,
going
looked her
you're
up.
going to get mad if you look at that timeline. There will be a point where you will punch in the screen. It will happen.
How about this?
She's like
I
going
will-
to church.
I will do
Church
you
for
the
Twitter.
favor that no one ever did me. Keep your expectations as low as you can possibly, because she's brilliant. And there's one thing I've learned in my time in a self-defense teacher, and I always bring this shit up. The most effective predators are the ones with the most beautiful smiles.
Oh wow.
She doesn't come right out and just punch you in the face. She is charismatic. She's gentle. She's kind. She's complimentary. And next thing you know, you're in her web. And she had me in the very beginning talking to the atheist crowd saying, guys, don't abuse Stephanie. She's don't.
And
I
she
look
will
back
be in
and I
and she will
realized,
be in your
holy
DMs.
shit.
She will be in your DMs
Oh, yeah.
convincing you that she really wants to be friends
Yep,
and that
yep.
there's
I'm antisocial, bitch. I don't like people. Don't try to be my friend.
Trust, like I said, me and Peter are paying you the favor that no one paid any of us. Stephanie Thomason, and you know what? I'm saying it. She's a predator. She is the most effective predator out there. Because, like I said, she has the best smile. I will show you, because Peter and Liz showed me how to go get my DMs after my car wreck. I'll show you all the shit that she said.
Wow.
I've never met a nicer person in my fucking life. And even after she said atheists kill themselves more, atheists are bad parents, atheists, hate God.
Yeah, atheists are
I'm
bad
still-
parents. They tell their kids that they're going to go to hell. Get
Right.
out of here.
I was still defending her. Because
I said it once and
Yeah,
I'll say
that's
it
her.
again. You're a good person. And that's sometimes your problem. That you're a good person. You don't want to give up. You don't want to give up on people. And that
No, I do not. I do not.
that is a good side. It's also a side that will get you in trouble every once in a
Yeah.
while. But that's basically it. And the fact that you still talk about this and it's still bothering you, where
Oh, yeah.
it doesn't bother her. She had the views that she needed. She has the replies on Twitter that she wanted, and that's done. Because if you look at how she handles people, she comes at you saying that you have potential.
Yeah,
Oh,
pretty
God.
much.
That
Those are
that
the
is
worst
that is her go-to. You have potential, and what she means by that is that you have the potential to become
be
a
converted.
Christian. If
Yeah.
that's no longer the case, you're gone.
You have potential to be somebody that I can tolerate as long as you subscribe to my beliefs
Yes.
and as long as you're willing to be
Exactly.
brainwashed and converted. Get the fuck out of
Exactly.
here.
And it is
Exactly.
literally
You have
that,
potential.
because
Who
if
are
you're
you?
no longer tolerate it, you're going to be blocked.
Right. And who is she to distribute potential, bitch? Who do you think you are? You overestimate
All right.
your importance on this earth. And
All
in my life. And my nobody's asking for your validation. They'll come around trying to offer it or
Well,
have
she's a
validation.
college professor, you know. I mean,
Oh, of course he is.
yeah,
And
and,
one-
and the worst thing she ever did was tell me that she got good ratings on the website Rate My Professor.
Oh,
And
she got
so,
good reading?
So I went to the website, and I went to the website of the university she teaches at, and I looked that there are 4 teachers in the classes that she teaches. And guess who's got the lowest ratings?
Of course. Of course.
See,
of course.
So that wasn't a good move.
Wow,
Because
that's so
I let me say this for the 500th time. You are such an incredible addition to this channel. I love the shit out of you.
I love the shit out of you.
Yeah, I actually hope you do, pardon me, get a chance to interact with this sack of shit. Because, and here's the thing, pardon me again, Jesus Christ. Just so you guys know, pollen is over 13,000 here in Austin, which is like stratospheric. It's ridiculous. Hence why I'm all congested. But I would love to see what happens to someone who interacts with SJ with prior knowledge of what her shit. Because again, I think most of us went into it raw, buying the smile, buying the nice words, buying you've got she is a very effective emotional predator.
Oh yeah.
You know now.
She probably sold Mary Kay.
What's that?
She probably sold Mary Kay or one of those pyramid things. She was probably like a top person.
Oh, no question. Things. No question. She can sell ice cubes to fucking Eskimos. She is that good. Because it literally took me.
Let's not give her too much credit.
No, and when I say good, how about this? Let me rephrase what I just said. She's diabolically brilliant. And that, again, the most effective predators have the prettiest smiles. Because if I just, on day one, punch someone in the face, they already know I can't trust this person. It's the person who's, hey, how's it going? Can I buy you a drink? Hey, do you want to go on in? Next thing you know, you've been separated from your family. You're saying shit you know. What am I saying this?
Oh, love bombing, yeah.
She is an effective predator because she doesn't come off as one. And so now you know. And so someone who knows, you know what? Fuck it. I should probably we should all make a ghost account and interact with SJ because, like I said, this isn't me being ugly. This is me being protective because people like me and thousands of others, probably just in my own same fucking zip code, I've tried to kill myself on more than one occasion, and I'm still here. What about the people who didn't make it, who heard someone like SJ say, oh, you want to drink turpentine? Just pray to Jesus. Well, guess what? Those people don't fucking make it. You need a fucking doctor to help you through this moment. So that's why I can't stand that bitch. Because, like I said, she has costed people their lives. I can't prove that. And she'll never know better. She'll just continue to bobblehead her way through life, not knowing any better.
She likes the attention. I think that
she loves the attention.
Yes, when you get to that level, like if you're like, look for example at Lil, perfect example, somebody who completely understood the Bible and was like, oh, actually, this is pretty fucked up. And look at you, Rob and Peter, people who like actually take the time to read and try to understand what they're believing, end up walking away. People, that's why I don't credit people who are too far in the game, too high up top. I don't credit them with the I guess the good intentions too much, because at some point you have to be nothing more than a business person. Now, with that said, it's okay if you're a business person that's trying to, I don't know, I can't see how it's good to be a good business pastor, but they at some point have to realize like, oh shit, what I'm doing is kind of fucked up, but there's a lot of money in it. So for her, it's probably like, oh, I'm getting tons of attention. People think I'm this amazing person because I'm a Christian, and I get to like degrade everybody else in the meanwhile. So it feeds her mental illness of narcissism.
I think money, having been in the NFL for a very short time, money's an addiction.
Yeah.
And I remember probably one of the best, Steve DeBerg played quarterback for, I can't tell you how long, but it was a long fucking time. I'll never forget him saying, when you play NFL football, those first 1, 2, 3 years, it's for the love of the game. But football fucking hurts.
Yeah.
Maybe not like in my generation where you were treated like cattle. And I remember Steve saying, everything after that, you're just addicted to the paycheck. Because what people don't know, and I've said this 1,000 times before about NFL contracts, they're not paid out over 52 weeks, which makes a year. They're paid out over 26. And so when you see the guy on ESPN who just signed a $30 million contract, he's not getting that over a year. He's getting that in 6 months. So every 7 days, you're getting a winning lottery ticket. It's an addiction, just like attention for this piece of shit. Because I remember, do you know who Rich Piana is by any chance?
No.
Rich Piana is a former bodybuilder. He never made it as a bodybuilder, but he still needed that attention.
Right.
So Rich pumped his body full of steroids. He got colored he was this freak.
Oh, no. He got colored contact.
When this is all done, I'm going to show you a picture of Rich Piana.
Oh,
and I still remember an interview with him where he said he is a rich man, not for his fans, but for his haters. Because when you release a video and you say, hey, I'm Rich Piana, I'm going to be in Dallas, Texas, I'm going to get my 5%er gear and my 5%er supplements. I hope to see you there. That's all he'll say. 30 people will say, hey, Rich, I can't wait to see you. I love your stuff. 5,000 people will sit there and say, fuck you, Rich Piana. I hope you fucking die, Rich Piana. You're a steroid using bitch, Pete. The people who are advertising on his website, they don't differentiate between the 30 positive and the 5,000 negative. All they see is the traffic on your website. So now Metrics is going to advertise Champion Nutrition. And everyone wants a piece of Rich Piana because all they see is traffic. That is Stephanie Thomason.
Yep.
All she sees is traffic. And for the 5 people who say, oh, we love Jesus, but the 9 million people who say, you know what? You are devoid of morality and you are a sack of shit. All she knows is that she's at 30,000 followers while everyone else is at 300.
That's her currency. She's shallow.
Well,
exactly.
Well, not all of those are actually followers. If you watch her timeline, there are only
let me clarify.
I think there are only a handful of people who are actively interacting with her. And so the amount of followers doesn't count. She got those followers when Dean Esme told her how he got his followers, which is from a website at what, 2 cents or 1 cent a piece.
Wow, no way.
If you're a Christian apologist and 75% of your followers are Muslims, something's off.
Also, what is apologist? I never understood what does it mean to be a Christian apologist? I know that they go and make excuses for Christianity.
Pretty much. Apologist. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's basically finding explanations to fit a square peg in a round hole, because that's what the Bible is. You need to find ways to fit in science within the Bible, and that is what Christian apologists do. So they twist and turn everything, like the Big Bang, for instance, because that obviously proved that God created everything, because there was nothing, and then a Big Bang, and the universe was here. It's not what happened, but that is one way of spinning it. So,
apologist comes from the Greek. I think it's Greek.
Apologia.
The root word is apologia, which means to explain or defend.
Yes.
And so, in English, it's apologist. They're not saying I'm sorry. A Christian apologist. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the beginning of Christian apologist as a practice begins in 1 Peter, and it teaches Christians, you need to defend the faith. You need to be able to give an explanation. And so that's where it comes from. And so an apologist basically for us it's just a professional liar. Because if you look at all the mainstream, the Cy Tim Brugan, Cates, William Lane Craig, they all have different words, but their shtick is all the same, which is basically, one, we're going to lie, and two, in order for us to make our argument valid, and I think I got this from Aaron Ra, reality can't be real. That's the foundation of their argument.
Yes.
Yeah. It's
You
like,
have
how
to-
do
you
we
have
know
to
that
doubt-
we're really alive?
You have to doubt reality in order for Christianity to be real. And what is aggravating me is that people like Ray Comfort rake in about $2 million a year.
Jesus.
Answers in Genesis rakes in $23 million a year.
No
And
wonder.
it's Hagen. Oh,
Pe-
he's not an apologist though. Hagen, right?
No,
that's
and people
crazy.
like On Ra, who actually spends his time educating people, is putting together a website which is basically an encyclopedia of how life originated and how it diversified. He has to scrape every cent to get by, because this is his full-time job and he has to work 24/7. He doesn't have time to watch a movie with his wife, for instance. And these professional liars, they get the big money.
Yeah,
And-
it's true. People would rather be lied to.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, they would. Yes, they would.
And I didn't even know the actual numbers, but I recently watched a talk that P.Z. Myers gave a long time ago, which is why I've asked him he needs to do more of those, even if he does them online, and I would be more than happy to host them. But he put up the numbers. So Answers in Genesis is top, then you get the intelligent design, I forgot what they're called. And then you got Institute for Creation Research, and then trickles down Ray Comfort, Kent Hovind is pretty much at the bottom. They still get more money than the NCSE, the National Center for Science Education.
That's ridiculous.
It's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
People love to hang on to a lie.
Yeah.
Somebody, I like this comment that Beej wrote right here. Apologists can't find a reason to believe, so they make up esoterical arguments to keep believing. Same with spirituality. Religion, spirituality doesn't matter. People want to find anything outside of themselves to believe in. That's the craziest thing, because it just keeps us dumb and crazy.
Yep. But it keeps you comfortable as well.
Yeah, it's that beautiful lie. It's just like
Yep.
somebody who wants badly to be with somebody else, so they stay in a relationship even though they know damn well that person is not the one for them.
Yep. Well,
Breaking up is hard to do.
I'm
There you go.
I'm looking at the clock. We've been going for almost 2 hours now. 10
Holy
minutes,
shit.
10
Wow.
minutes left.
That-
And I could
It's her fault. She's so easy to talk to.
I could
Blame E.
yeah,
I have so
I-
many questions.
I could easily do this another 2 hours, but
So could I. This is fun.
You guys are the best.
One thing I need to say, Erica, because I
Yeah.
don't think we touched on your topic much. We had a great talk, but not necessarily about the soul. So
That's because there's no way to decide that. That's because it's impossible to have a topic on, because it's
well,
Sorry about that, E.
I'm going to send Eric Hernandez a message, and if he wants
Yes,
to come
yeah.
on, you need to come on with
I
me.
would watch the shit out of that one.
yeah.
Because-
And fair game, let him know that if he tries to pull that douchebag shit that I see him doing with people on this channel, that I'm coming for his ass.
Peter,
And-
you have
and
to
the
set
prob-
it up
the
now.
problem- the
we could sell
problem is-
tickets to that.
Yeah, the problem is, I spent more time talking to Eric Hernandez offline than I did online. He's actually a really nice guy. He's completely deluded, but he is a really nice guy, and I will say that. And no matter what he says on his channel, and I've seen him the way that he interacts with on Raw. I detest that attitude, because he does have that, where he just is there to
dismissing
to push the
meme.
buttons that he
Yeah.
needs to make someone blow up, and he can do that very well. If he's not in that mindset, as I said, he's a really nice guy, and you could just sit down and talk to him, and could talk to him for a long time. If you're not talking about religion, he's a great guy to talk to. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I want to know about this soul. That's what set that up.
It's basically from what I got, a thought can weigh a brain can weigh 3 pounds, but a thought doesn't, and therefore a soul. I haven't figured it out how he got from A.
You don't figure it out. That only makes sense in Christian
He
circles.
hasn't figured it out either. He's just saying stuff. It's like the magic math that they show you when you sign up for a sales company. You can make $2 million this year if you do X, Y, and Z, and none of it adds up to $2 million.
Present to the scientific community, change the world as we know it, then come back and tell us. Until then, just like I told this other asshole, you're just another internet smart guy. That made no sense. A brain is 3 pounds, but shut the fuck up. You're making stuff up so other Christians can feel good about their stupid ass feelings.
I'll link you both.
I'm tired of this.
I'll link you both to I think it's a 3-hour video where he talks to David Smalley.
You got to give me warning. I've only had one drink today, so I need to be drunk to listen to that stupid shit.
You're going to need a couple of bottles, but it is absolutely fun to listen to.
Fine, let's do it.
And David Smalley was really respectful and really nice to him, which I think made for a really good conversation, because David got to have him mention the title of his book, and I need to write that down. Just the title of that book would make, I think, 90% of the atheists want him to punch him in the face. It's that bad.
Fair enough.
But if you then go to what he actually says in that book, and he hasn't finished writing it, if you go to what he says in that book, it is just fun. To me, it's comedy. Just comedy.
About the soul. I think that I did hear something once that they tried to explain that the thing about how much the brain weighs, and then once you die, your brain weighs less than it did. But that would probably have to do with like neurons and the things that fire off in your brain, whatever. When your brain is alive.
It's even easier than that, because if you die, all your muscles relax.
Exactly, that's what I'm trying to say.
So your bodily fluids will come out, and yes, you will weigh less. You will weigh less. It's really that.
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Something about the term bodily fluid. That was kind of gross. I don't know. I didn't need to hear that before dinner.
Okay.
Is that an SJ?
I want to wrap this up, Erica. It was great having you on.
Yes, thank you guys so much.
And I'm really looking forward to doing a show with you, because that's going to be a ton of fun.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure there are going to be shows where I'm not on screen, because now everyone wants to do a show with you. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. Another thing that I wanted to touch on, Robert, is that we're going to come back with our shows about Black Lives Matter. That's a topic that we're going to come back.
I'm ready.
Every once in a while.
I'm totally ready.
One of the first people to DM me was Amadeus Almighty, and I really want to have him come on the channel and have a chat. So we need to make that happen. Another one is Grumpy Old Dude, who used to be white supremacist.
Oh wow!
I've already been on his channel. He wants to come on our channel.
Okay.
So he wants to come on the topic
Would
show.
love to.
I think we also should have him on and talk a little bit about his channel, because he targets the hate groups and points out where they are and what they do. Which
my best friend still wants to. I've known this dude for 24 years, and race has never once entered into our conversation. And he said whenever we can put him on, he'll do it. But I think Simon would be a fantastic addition to this conversation because, and I'll just give everyone, Simon Stanley grew up without not a dime in his fucking pocket. So he saw a side of the world that other people just did not see. And so when you can strip away the nice cars, the 3-story houses and everything else, you're just a fucking person. Mm-hmm. So he and I were best friends the moment we met. We've loved each other every day of our lives. And I think his story would add a lot to this conversation. Because again, not a single time have we ever had a discussion about race. He's always just been Sifu. I've always just been Chris. And so I think hearing his side to where you can just love a person, I think would go huge.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to set it up.
Let's do it.
I'll make a group on Twitter, and we're going to pick a date.
Fair enough.
Okay. Okay. So Erica, thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much, guys, for having me and answering my questions and talking with me and shooting the shit.
I love it.
It's been great, and as I said, I really look forward to having you on the show because
I look forward to being on. You guys educate my dumb ass.
Well, we have. I think we have really different people as hosts on this channel, and you will be a great addition because you will bring something we don't have already. Fire.
Lots of enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'm looking forward to that. I want to thank everyone who's been in the chat. Special shout out to our oldest fan, and that's in how long she's been a fan, not in age. Beach Price. Always, I'm still always delighted to see Beach Price in the side chat. And all the others. I do want to give a special shout out to Critical Cripple, who has done a lot for our show. The way we run the show is not the only thing. And I'm looking this. Whoops, wrong button. See, I can mess up every once in a while. This little tool is one of his as well, and I'm really thankful that I can try that out. So, Robert, as always, thanks for co-hosting. And,
love it. Anytime.
We'll be back soon. Bye, everyone.
Looking forward to it. Peace.
Bye.